Hey guys, Chaps here, and as the title suggests, it's time to talk about Juvie Jingle Horde. To start off, I want to make this abundantly clear. This is not necessarily the best, or the most fun way to play the mode. This is just what I found to be the easiest. There's probably a lot of you out there who are just going for those awesome Midnight Omen Lancers, and I don't blame you, so hopefully this guide will help you get started. The first tip is pretty obvious, and that's just to play on normal difficulty. The weapons are earnable on normal, and it's much more relaxed and enjoyable than playing on insane. The strats are pretty transferable though, so most of what I'll be addressing in this video pertains to those of you who want a challenge and want to play on insane difficulty. So first things first, let's talk classes. Scouts, you're going to want to do the obvious deposit bonus and health boost cards. The other cards really depend on your playstyle. Personally, I'd prefer pickup distance as well, it just makes things easier. I also enjoy the Brawler card. The melee damage increase is nice, but what's even nicer is the incoming melee damage reduction. I mean, we're mainly fighting Juvies here, so melee damage reduction is going to be really nice. As for the last card, it's really a toss-up between Energize, Shotgun damage, and Speed boost. A lot of the energy bunches up, so Energize does a great job keeping you alive out there. Shotgun damage is normally a go-to card for the Scout, but I'm really not sure if it's necessary for this game mode. Many Scouts love Speed Boost. I personally avoid this card for the event, but it's not really any worse than any other cards out there, so knock yourself out. Up next, we have the Engineer. As you can probably guess, we're going to start off with Sentry Cost and Sentry Capacity. These just chew through Juvies, and there's no beating the Sentries in this mode. We're obviously going to want Repair Boost, so that's number 3. In the number 4 slot, I put Build Cost, just any little thing to help get the Sentries even cheaper. And the last card is really up to you. I use Fortification Health, as it did seem to help a bit, and while I normally avoid using Flow, this card could also come in handy if you find yourself taking a lot of damage. Surprisingly, I avoid anything decoy, turret, or barrier related in this run, which I'll get to later. Soldier is actually going to be your next most important class, and it's really all about those rifles and grenades. Active Boost, Rifle Damage, Rifle Capacity, Rifle Magazine, and yeah, even Assault Rifle Accuracy are great cards. I'd really only use the Accuracy one though if you're playing on a map with a long sightline. Depending on your playstyle, you also might want to trade out Accuracy and maybe even Magazine size for some combination of Grenade Damage, Grenade Capacity, and Resupply. The Sniper and Heavy aren't exactly the best classes for this event, but let's take a look at some example builds. On the Heavy, I'd go with Explosive Launcher Capacity, Explosive Damage, and Mark Damage. The other two cards are really up to you. Explosive Reload may come in handy for some of you. Pistol Expert can be nice for headshot bonuses on the mini-boss waves. I don't really use heavy weapons much in this, but maybe Berserker, Last Stand, or Heavy Weapon Damage will suit you. Really, besides those first 3 cards I mentioned, the Heavy doesn't really seem that useful in this event. If you're running as a sniper, I'd opt for Headshot Damage, Explosive Headshot, and Called Shot. Mark Boost might be nice to combine with Called Shot as well. Precision Rifle Capacity and Precision Rifle Damage can also prove helpful, but I typically wouldn't use those guns on the Juvie waves. As much as I love Magic Bullet, and as awesome as that is for snipers, it just doesn't work well here. There's just too many Juvies, and it's hard to get consistent headshots. Oh, and I guess a Sniper Strike never hurts if you're getting overwhelmed, so that might be worth throwing on as well. I feel that the best combination of classes for this event would be 1 Scout, 1 Engineer, and 3 Soldiers. I'll discuss the uses for the classes here in a bit, but before we jump into the strategies for the mode, let me quickly go over some of the changes that were made. Most notably, a majority of the waves are just filled to the brim with Juvies and Trackers. The mini-boss waves, as I call them, are the waves that end on 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25. While these can still have Juvies and Trackers, these feature a wide gambit of enemies. I've seen Pouncers, DR1s, and even some waves that spawn like 8 Sentinels at once. The other big change in this mode is the Fortification Health. Not all, but most fortifications have significantly decreased health, which is pretty obvious in the video. As an engineer, it was a nightmare pressing Tac-Com to check up on my fortifications and seeing all of the low health bars. This low health on fortifications is the primary reason that I'm avoiding using barriers and decoys. They're pretty much just a one-hit kill by the Juvies, so it was a waste of money to have. The main reason I'm avoiding the turrets is because, well, I just feel that sentries are more useful against Juvies than turrets are. Turrets are fantastic, but they're extremely expensive, and I think the sentries do the job just fine. Besides those basic changes to the enemy spawns and the fortification health, it played out pretty nicely. Alright, so now that that's out of the way, what's the strategy? Well, quite simply, it's to use sentries. Like, a lot of sentries. Just have the engineer keep placing sentries, and when you think you have enough, buy more to use as sacrificial sentries to recycle. This will just help you keep leveling up the fabricator. The engineer is going to have their hands full. They really won't be helping out that much in combat. They're just going to be ensuring that the sentries are refilled and purchasing new ones as necessary. In some of the later waves, I even got so overwhelmed that I had a teammate buy a spare repair tool to help me repair, or if I'm buying a bunch of sentries, I would have my teammates help me bring them out to place the sacrificial ones. The scout is probably the most obvious, and that's going to be collect money. There's really not much else to say about that. So scout, don't die, collect money. Alright. As a soldier, you should be throwing and planting grenades whenever you have them, but the most important aspect is just laying down a ton of fire with the Lancers. The boosted Lancer has just about the same effectiveness as a level 3 turret, so these guys can really put some serious damage downrange. If you want to play as a heavy, I suggest keeping your default boomshot and retro. The retro is nice for some rifle fire, and the Juvies like to bunch up, especially around the scout who's out there collecting the energy, so the boom can get you quite a lot of multi-kills. A lot of heavies prefer using things like the drop shot and the torque bow, and while the drop shot's not terrible, I mean it can still get a lot of multi-kills, the boom shot's a little bit faster. I mean, you're not really going to be headshotting the Juvies that much. The torque bow's really just not worth it. Not to mention that you spawn with a boom shot, and there's not that many enemies that are going to be dropping boom shots and torque bows for you, and you don't want to keep going to the fabricator to buy new weapons. Sniper? Well, I'm sorry to say you probably won't be sniping too much. Precision weapons may come in handy on the mini-boss waves, but in general I think you'd be better suited with a Lancer. Remember, you have that nice headshot damage bonus, and it works on the Lancer too, so use that to your advantage. That's really all there is to these runs. It's quite simple, and as you'll see by the scoreboard, the sentries put in a lot of work. Remember though, this is just the easy strategy. This is in no way intended to be the most fun. In fact, it actually got a little boring after our second run with the sentries just doing all of the work. In fact, I'm gonna try some runs later that use no fortifications, or do runs on the normal difficulty with just a bunch of brawler and rage scouts. I'll see how that goes, and if it's enjoyable enough, I'll put together a follow-up video to let you know some more enjoyable variants. The last thing I want to add is a big thank you to TC. People have been waiting for this type of event for quite some time now, and it's nice to see them in-game. This is only scratching the surface of what's possible, and I look forward to seeing the future events. Oh, and if there's any of you over there at TC who want some ideas for events, you know where to find me. And that's going to do it for this guide. It was pretty simple, but hopefully you learned something new. Don't forget to drop the video a like and subscribe to keep up to date with our content. If you have any questions, hit me up on Twitter and I'll try to get back to you. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll catch you next time.
One thing I like is